Hello guys, today we're going to revisit upscaling. I had this idea because I just recently was testing out doing live streaming. During the live stream test, I was doing upscaling, but I was doing upscaling for video. But I realized two videos that I have that are talking about upscaling, one is really mostly talking about image to image, and the other one is talking about why you should always upscale. I realized that I only really talked about latent image upscaling, but there's other versions of this too, and I really just wanted to show it. So this workflow right here is based upon simply just a regular latent image upscale right here, and it's by 2. This is the one you probably should be familiar with if you've looked at anything on my channel. It's a flux workflow and all that. So this is one way of doing it, but there's also the whole way of using upscale models that are specifically designed for upscaling. And the one in particular I'm going to do, because there's other ones, plenty of them out here, but I'm going to do this one called Real Erzgan. Let me use that one. This one is mostly, I believe, designed, oops, not that. This one's mostly designed for like almost like restoration type things, or how do you say it? Like if you had something that was like done on like a VHS or something like that, and you want to bring up the quality of it to maybe not exactly a 4K standard, but take out some of the digital, I guess there wouldn't be digital artifacts, or analog artifacts of magnetic tape or things like that. It was just something that might have like a little bit of pixelation and you want to kind of remove that part of it. That's what this is for, I think, mostly, but it still works with, you know, whatever AI image, and I think it works pretty well. That's one of the method. Another one is something I use from time to time, and I don't know exactly if I would recommend this. I think it's actually image resize, not resize image. Yes, it's this one. And I usually use this whole Lanczos one. And this particular version of resizing, or in our case, we're gonna double it again. In this particular situation, the Lanczos sampling thing, it's like as it blows it up, it kind of calculates whether or not a pixel should be like the other pixel next to it to be able to fill in the gaps. So in this situation, you're definitely not gonna get something where it's like adding sharpness to it, but it works relatively well, kind of like softens the edges or whatever while trying to increase the size. But these things can really come in handy, especially when you're trying to do upscaling, mainly because unlike the latent image upscaler, you can see they're actually pretty fast. Unlike the latent image upscaler, the other plus is that if you look at them like more closely, you can tell that you get basically the same type. For the most part, it's the same image. When you do latent image upscaling, you'll notice that the image will be modified. It won't be the same exact thing. Now, one thing in particular you can tell right off the bat on this one, see this area has shifted and changed. This is the one that uses the upscale model. So it modified what we're seeing here, trying to probably bring out what looks like something that's hazy to it, and I guess as far as the AI interprets it. It did the same thing over in this window too, but in this one it doesn't do that. Now for the image itself, it already looks like some pretty good definition. Now as for this one, the one that just popped up is the latent image upscaler. Right away you can see the face has been changed. It's not the same face. Even if you look other places like this closer, you can see that the design has been changed too. It's not the same exact design. But you don't have this issue on here. This is a bit modified from the original structure if you look at the different shapes here. But let's go closer. Let's look at these a lot closer so you can really get a really good comparison here. Because they've been doubled in size. The beginning size was in, you know, full HD 1080p. And we've doubled the size of these. So we can get a very close look. So this is the Lanczos one, the resized image one. Now, if you look at this one, there's nothing really that looks horrible about it, but it's all of it's really like the softer edge and everything like that. On the next one over, which is the upscale model one, you can see where it has a little bit more sharpness to it. Really pay attention to the strands in the hair too. If you look at the strands of hair, these are kind of like the separation between strands is kind of mulled more in this one, and it comes out a little bit better here. But if you look at the one that has latent image upscaling, it's a lot more of these frayed edges that you can see all these different variations of like contrast. Even the face itself, right? Though it's a different face, there's so many more elements in there. And you can also tell how like the sharpness of the edge around the cheek, it's a little bit sharper. You can kind of start to see those pixelations, but this has its downsides too. Looking at the different parts and the way that the lighting hits, you see there's a little bit more color with the one that has latent image. Things have changed, but here's where the latent image one has its flaws. If you start to look at the background of this thing, right? If you look really close, you'll start to see this little pattern that looks like a bunch of horizontal lines and stuff like that. If you look at this bonsai tree, you start to see this kind of like patchwork of like shapes, almost like you're looking at one of those video game texture maps or something like that, right? This, in these other ones, this is the one that has the upscaling. You can remember the upscale model because it has this little thing, funky thing it did over here, but you don't see that in this. You don't see that kind of patchwork thing in this one. It doesn't have those crisp edges that this one does, and has that, you know, really refined look, but again, it's a different face. And then you have ones like this one where you kind of just see the pixels a little bit more apparent. You didn't really increase the definition of anything, and that's what the resized image does. It doesn't really seek to do that. The Lanczos resized image thing really just, again, it looks at the pixel next to it and kind of calculates which one should be which, as far as like filling in the gaps as you try to make it larger. So what is the solution? What is the one you should pick? Well, I don't think it's necessarily that you should pick one specific one. What I think it should be done, you have this image that you really like, or let's say this one. The key is to take the image that has that most refinement, rather than choosing which one should be the one that upscales. Take that one that you did upscale, and then with the latent image, that is, and then run that one that you upscale through the latent image. Once you get the look that you want from whatever iteration that you have, take that one, then run it through the upscale model. And you can see down from right here that this is going to be a lot bigger. Take that one, run it through there. Let's just go ahead and bypass the rest of these because we don't want to run it again. It's going to take a lot longer to do that. And we're not even going to bother to do it to this resized image. We just want the one that's actually the upscale model. This way, despite the fact that we have, and this one, I guess we're probably at 4K at this point. This one, while this one has all those little horizontal things, you'll see that those will start to fade away a little bit more. They're still there if you look really closely, but because you're having it in such high definition, I believe again this is about 4K at this point, those type of things will fade in the background. The other thing that's really good about the whole latent image thing too is that it's a lot more likely that you'll solve those issues like with the fingers and other problems with the latent image. You can't solve those kind of problems or any kind of like inconsistencies that don't work when you do it with just the regular upscale.
There's also other upscale models you can use, but again, they all have their drawbacks. Like for instance, this 4 times ultra sharp. This is going to be, as it says, 4 times as large. But though at a glance you'll find some sharpness to this one, there's also the other problems. As you get closer, you start to realize it didn't really do exactly what you thought it was going to do by comparison to the other ones. You can see it does kind of look sharp. It looks really sharp. But when you get close, you see all that pixelation comes back. It literally just does, I guess, what you think it does. It just takes away the blurriness. And if you make it big enough, it seems like it makes it a lot sharper at a distance, which in theory it works. It's like you make it bigger, you sharpen it, and then you make it super big, and then you downsize that. Like, instead of going 4 times as large as it wants to do here, in essence, it'll be as sharp, I guess, as you want it to be. Upscale a lot higher than the actual value you're going to use, and then downscale, or I guess downscale, yeah. Downscale to the size you really would want to use. And it will look sharper without having shown all of these like pixely parts that you would see up close. So it really kind of depends on what it is you really are looking for. I don't think that there's any like thing that's going to be a catch-all be-all for this type of thing, but I do believe like the best way to deal with upscaling is thinking about whether or not you have the image you want when you've upscaled with the latent image, and whether or not you just want to make it a little bit more crisp. I think that's the best way to think about it. So to me, it's like, if you're going for this really crisp, refined look, get to the point where it looks like the image you want in the upscaled version of it, your first upscale, and then on top of that, I would do these type of upscales if that's what you're going for. If you want that really high definition look, I don't think you should bypass latent image upscaling. I don't think it's gonna look as nice as if you actually do the latent image first and then do the refinement afterwards. That's probably your best bet, no matter what type of upscale model you're gonna use, because again, the latent image thing actually tries to fill in the gaps via like information from your text prompt and all this kind of stuff to actually try to find out what the best solutions are for what you're trying to accomplish. The regular upscale models don't even have that information. They're not doing that at all. So the real question is, what exactly, how much information are you trying to actually have informed by your upscaling process? But these are really high definition images, and like this kind of method, like when I was doing on the stream with videos, I wasn't even trying to increase the scale on those each frame. For that one, I was literally just running it through the upscaler just to get a little bit more crisp edges about things. It is possible to do a latent image upscale with video. One, you start to really mess with each frame because it's not going to come out the same. That's probably why it's not recommended. But two, is again, longer process. Just like right now when this thing's loading up everything on the K sampler. In fact, I'm probably gonna. Yeah, I went ahead and killed that one just because, it's already gonna be pretty high trying to make that a latent image in 4K. I guess there's no real one solution for anything when it comes to this AI stuff, and I still stand by the latent image upscaling just because of the type of refinement you can get. But these other upscale models are pretty good too, especially when you just want a little bit of sharpness, but it can only go so far. That being said, I hope this was a little bit more information on upscaling, and it may help you with other problems that you might run into, especially when again you incorporate this kind of upscaling for video and doing frame by frame and all that kind of stuff. If you guys like this video, please tell me in the comments and tell me more stuff that you guys want to see. I'm more interested too now in what it is you guys are interested in seeing, so I can kind of keep my content relevant to the audience, not so much what I think is interesting. Let me know. And thanks for watching.